Hi, everybody. Welcome to our special Halloween live with Bonnie Serratore. I'm Caroline Oceana Ryan. Very glad that you're here. I hope everyone's doing well. Sawen blessings to everyone. Corey, I'm Caroline Oceana Ryan. Very glad that you're here. I'm so sorry. I hope everyone's doing well. One second here. One second. Oh, golly. That's annoying.
No, I don't know what happened. What was that? Did you have two microphones on?
Sorry about that. Okay, so Sawen blessings. And, if you've got questions, you can write them in the chat. But what Bonnie and I are going to do is just share some stories about different experiences that we've had and just how strange it is when the dimensions cross and different experiences come forward. So, Bonnie, go ahead and lead off if you'd like. Cindy is saying, where's Bonnie and Caroline? Here's the cat. Yes, I am the putty cat. How do you do?
All righty. Cool. All right. Black hair eyes. Okay. Well, one of the things that's coming to mind is these are real stuff, you guys. So this is back in the day. This was when I was younger. This is when when I first started opening up and letting energies come into my body. Okay, this is way back then. So one day, my sister and sister-in-law, we were hanging out, and we're always talking about different things like spirits and things that you can't see. So one day we're sitting on the bed, and there's wallpaper on the wall, and all three of us are sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm looking over at the wallpaper, and I'm telling you for real. Okay. So the wallpaper, it was like, it had just different figures, not figures, but different patterns. But all of a sudden these demonic faces started pushing. I'm not joking. I'm telling you guys, honest to God, for real. Okay. Faces coming through like this. Okay. So we're all sitting there, and I don't remember who said what, but someone says, "Does anyone see the wallpaper?" And they're like, "Yes, we see it." And we jump up and we run out of the room. And then we're like afraid to go back in the room because, you know what I mean? It's like, here's this wallpaper in there. And so finally, we're all in the living room, and we're all like, what have we done? Because back then, my sister, all three of us we had opened things up, and things were coming in. Okay. So these creatures were, all these things, rock peoples, all kinds of stuff. And they were coming in. And so we had, we had clearly opened up some portals. We'd opened up some stargates. Who knows what we did? We opened some stuff up. And, So the demonic faces, now you don't know this, but my sister, we lived in the country. Okay. So she had a cow and horses, and I was living in a little further away, but basically, she had critters. And so what started to happen is these demonic energies literally they came through the wallpaper clearly. And then they were going out, and the critters, like the cattle, the horses, they were starting to freak out. We knew clearly what was happening. You could see these energies, and the guys, I'm telling you, honest to God, for real. The horses, they freaked out, like seriously freaking out. They started kicking the gates and shit. Finally, they kicked the gate open. They ran on down. We had a dirt road. They ran on down the dirt road, and they went on another dirt road, and they went onto the road. And even then it's still country, but one of the horses got killed, hit by a car, from these creature beings, literally, scaring things. So what happened for us is, once that happened, other things were starting to happen. Like my sister-in-law, she had gone, and shortly after that had gone and, trying to get help. And they said that these beings were trying to take over the body, and that we all needed to stop immediately. Stop. Don't let nothing back into the body. So that we basically, we did that. We closed everything off and shut everything down. And bad things continued to happen. Okay, really not cool things. But we had opened something up, and we had these really friggin' dark energies had entered into this, into our energy frequency in this dimension right here, and we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't, back then, this was back in the late 70s, 70s, and back then none of us knew what to do. You know what I mean? So we had to open some stuff up, and after that, other things started happening. So one night I'm in my house, and my son he was not even a little over a year old. Yeah, he just turned 1. He was in a crib. He actually couldn't get out of the crib because we kept it really high, below the mattress, keep it up high so he could never get out. And so what happened one night was I was still channeling, I was still letting stuff come back. I was still letting the rock people come and things like that. But what happened was, all of a sudden I'm sitting on the couch, I was crocheting, and all I hear this screaming like I've never heard, freaked me out. So I run down the hallway, I open that door, and I can see this energy thing above him. He's on the floor. He's trying to crawl out, and he's screaming, and this thing's right above him. So I grabbed him and I closed the door, and pulled him away. And then I needed to keep him in the room with me because I was now really afraid, because there was absolutely some evil thing in that room. So I kept him with me. Basically we moved thinking that would end it, but it didn't end it. We moved to another house, and then we started seeing all these different light things happening, but these were not the bad guys. These light beings were there actually to kind of help us. And so what happened was once we, moved out of the house and we got into another house, we were just doing all kinds of stuff to try to bring light in, to try to, make good things happen. And so there were these lights that were always in the house, and you could see them moving, but they were light, and it was like the light beams or something. And they just kind of made it more safe in the house. So my son, I actually kept him sleep, with me for like a couple of years, being with me, because I was so terrified that something was going to take him, get him, whatever. So anyway, but that was a good thing. So the light beings started presenting, and that's when we started actually getting involved with things like Edgar Cayce. Not that I got involved, but my sister started reading Edgar Cayce, and then was practicing some of the things that they learned, trying to read auras, that type of thing. Yeah. She didn't need it because we're both extremely clairvoyant and we can sense energies, but it was just something to kind of get her going in a direction that made her feel better, made her, we're connecting with something of a better frequency, a higher frequency. And and so for me personally, I didn't get involved in that, but I did, begin to, started opening up and starting to track energy, sense energy, and hear stuff and that type of thing. So from then on, it's like there's always been these dark energies. They stay even now. Like, you guys, if I here's what's set up. Okay, I'm like an enemy to these guys, big time. Okay, they know what I can do. So they won't come into. They stay outside of a certain area within. Like they won't cross over a certain distance, but they're always there. They're just waiting for any kind of opening, any kind of thing where I'm vulnerable or whatever. I mean, I have no fear because I know they can't hurt me, because they feed off your fear. Okay, that's the problem. Is people get freaked out, of course. It's like, and so they feed off that, and then it gets really intense. It gets really ugly. But basically, just ending that, just knowing that's happening, and just like not afraid. So I just want to back up a little bit. So what happened for me years later, when I had my practice in Auburn, I actually would spend time going into these really dark places. I would go into where the satanic energy was, all this dark energies, all this consciousness of evil and that type of thing, because I actually wanted to know if it could hurt me. Okay, so I would spend time going into these dimensions, and what I discovered was, they can hurt the physical body for sure, but they couldn't hurt who I am, meaning the eternal me that we all are. Okay, once I knew that, game over, fearless. You know what I'm saying? It's like, bring it on. I'd have people, I'd be doing these, what do you call them? Not exorcism, but just, removing dead people out of the bodies, that type of thing. And you'd have these demonic things snarling and, raging at me that were in the body, and people would be like freaking out, backing away. And I'd be like smacking them, saying, knock it off or whatever, because there was no fear in me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Get this stuff out. But yeah, I mean, I've had had a lot of run-ins with dark stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, no fear. So yeah, those are really intense stuff, like really intense.
Wow, I'm just glad that you took it more as a bump in the road, and it never pushed you off your mission. It never pushed you off of really realizing who you are, and like you say, staying in that core of knowing who you are, and that can't be destroyed. And it's really very important. Something that you stress a lot in clearings, as far as dark forces go, is don't show fear. Don't go into fear. Don't do. That's how they get in. And when I was younger, when I was a child and teenager, I really did have fear of these dark energies, and lived in a part of Pennsylvania which could be quite violent in terms of its history, and even in terms of the current life. These people had, people would sell things with guns, with shotguns, whatever, including maybe killing a partner and then themselves, kind of thing, or all their coworkers. It was just very intense, and very close to the battleground at Gettysburg, maybe about 20 minutes away, which is one of the most haunted places in the country. And I also, coming from a family that was very troubled, and a father who had a lot of connection to dark forces, even though he played this role of being the Protestant minister, the house was very dark. It just felt dark. And as soon as we moved there, I felt it when I was 12. And at night, I would be kind of like this. I would feel these dark energies or entities darting at me. And I would be just kind of like, get away. And that would revisit me even as an adult. When I would visit family, when I visit my parents' house at night, I would feel that again. And I learned over time to get really strict, really strong with them, and to realize, like you're saying, I'm a complete integrated person, and I don't have to be let any part of myself be determined by them or be stolen by them. And I've had a lot of run-ins with ghosts, but I was staying at one place. I lived for just a month or two after I graduated from college. I was renting a room in a place. I was looking for a place in Philadelphia, and just as I was waking up, I saw this figure at the foot of the bed. He was male, kind of slumped shoulders, with mangy black hair. It was kind of just, real rough looking. And he was just standing there. And I knew that, for one thing, it was probably connected to the house, but I also knew that this was the sort of being that had been kind of chasing me for most of my life. And I'm sure even as a toddler, I saw a lot and would cry as a result and didn't know what was going on. But over time, in that era, I would more use Bible verses to try to chase away the dark, which can work, actually, if you call on Yeshua, if you call on assistance, that can work a lot. But I've more had run-ins with ghosts in many, many places. The demonic or dark entity interferences seem to move away. And the way I would feel them is that it was like I could feel like a vampire presence on my neck, like the fangs or whatever, kind of going toward the neck, or I would feel a slight choking sensation. And I even felt that the other day. I kid you not, I even felt that the other day looking at an email from somebody who's dealing with dark entities. And I said, here. And I just opened the portal, threw them into the light, and closed it, and didn't think for a second to do any different. Because you still have to handle it sometimes, but I don't feel chased anymore, thankfully. Oh my gosh, I lived in several haunted places in New York City where you could hear people like coming up the stairs when I knew that there was only 3 of us on the floor and we were all in, and then walking, but then you didn't hear them go down the stairs again or whatever. A writer's residency in an old church. That's why I was up on that higher floor, and we would hear maybe somebody playing the piano, and you turn on the lights and you don't see anyone. And then I stayed in an apartment for a while in California, a friend's apartment, where there was definitely a really intrusive ghost, and he was so annoying. And I'd be sitting there talking to a friend, and she would say later, I felt a cold breeze come into the room, but there was no door or window open. And I said, yeah, he does that. And I would be trying to fall asleep upstairs, and it was a big apartment, and he would go into the wall and crack the wall loudly right at the moment that I was starting to fall asleep. And one night I just said, stop what you're doing, or I will have you removed from here, you know. And I thought later, what did I even mean by that? Where would I because I wasn't energy work at the time, not consciously. So I started sleeping downstairs in the living room, lying on the, sleeping on the couch, and he came up to me one night and, hit me in the shoulder just to be annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying. And that boy was more angry than scared. I wasn't scared of him. I was just pissed off. And he would start to go slowly into the room, and I could tell he wanted to move into my energies. And I would feel myself, it was very strange. I feel myself starting to get more relaxed and almost kind of sleepy. And I would have to just and say, no, you're not moving into my energies. And at the time, this was like more than 30 years ago. I had 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
No idea of your work or anybody else's that talked about these issues.
Yeah.
If you've dealt with ghosts, that would interest me to hear how you handle it.
Oh, yeah. I might. Yeah. I've had, I was just remembering as you're talking, well, just actually recently here in my house, probably, people don't know where I live. I live by, I'm in Georgia, but I live by, my house is actually on land that was a part of the Civil War. Okay. So the Civil War was here. I'm always having soldiers walking through my house. One day I was in the kitchen and I was talking to my own higher levels, and I was saying things like, okay, I think I'm ready to open up and let somebody into my life. And all of a sudden, I'm telling you, honest God, for real, I feel this energy come behind me, tall man, he puts his arms around me and starts to, come into me. I'm like, what are you doing? And I cast that dude out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like they just come through. And there was the Reed House in Chattanooga. There's it's a hotel. There was a woman, there's a whole story about it. And, over 100, I can't remember when, but it was a man, and they just got married, and they were on their honeymoon or whatever. And they came here. He had to leave to go do something for a couple of weeks or something, a week. So she was by herself, and she started going out, meaning going to going and having a drink or whatever. Well, they don't know if it was someone that because she was having, being unfaithful. Anyway, they think the husband actually did it, but they found her with her head almost completely cut off. Okay. In the tub thing. And her energy was still there. So we went to see it one time. I was with Will and Mary, and we went to the house, and Reed House. It's a hotel, but we went upstairs. The room, it's like it's a tour. Actually, they take you in, and you go into the room. They tell you all this stuff. Well, I could feel her. You know what I'm saying? Like the moment we went in there, I could feel her, and she was just like still like in this traumatized state.
Yeah.
And I talked to Will about it. I said, "Do you think we should release her?" And because normally I'll get a no when it says release this being. If I don't get it, I leave it, because there's we don't know what reasons why things are happening and what the purpose is. So if I don't have a knowing, I don't touch it. I'm serious. Okay. I have to have that knowing, and otherwise it's not my business. So her energy, I mean, it's not quite as intense as it was. I brought somebody else there, and you can't feel it quite like you did. But they also had Al Capone in that room. They put bars on it as it's like that room's haunted for real. Okay. So they put him in there. So there was, at the Reed House. And then what was it? There was something else that I remembered.
Did you feel that woman should be going into the light? Did you send her?
Well, I didn't, but I did do some stuff to help with the intensity. Okay. The intensity. So here's another one. I was in Hawaii, and on the island of Kauai, I was walking on the beach with my friend, and she was telling me about, it's called the cottage. Okay. It's like a plantation, but it's a place nowadays. It's made for little cottages, and people stay, like a resort. So she was telling me about one of the cabins, and she was saying that nobody could go in there. No one could stay in there. Cleaners would go in, they'd run out. They put them in that room. People didn't want to stay. And she told me the story. Apparently a woman had been bludgeoned to death. She had like 5 kids and she crawled into her house and died. So her energy is still there, clearly. So what happened was I'm going, well, why hasn't somebody cleared it? You know, I mean, my innocence, whatever, naive. So I go, okay, let's go deal with it. So we walk on over. And this is for real, honest God, for real, okay? Cynthia's over about maybe 4 feet from, probably 5 feet from me. And I'm starting, the door's right there. So I start to approach, walking towards the door. The woman, she attacked me. She literally jumped on me. My body went flying back. Wow. Cynthia's eyes are like big as they can be and her mouth is open. She saw me get hit, but there's nothing there. And I went flying back. She saw it. And I immediately started talking to the woman, letting her know, I'm not the one who hurt you. I didn't do this. So she could hear me. And then pretty soon she's like, well, where are my children? And I told her kids are all right. And this had happened a while back. One of her kids are already dead. You know what I'm saying? So I showed her that their kids are fine. And then once she saw her kids were okay and she got it, she left. From that moment on, that little cottage, no more problems ever. No more people leaving, no more, where they can't stay in the room. It was over.
Yeah. I have heard of cases like that where, for instance, there's a car accident, the woman dies. There was a ghost she was from the 1950s, and she was still wandering the area, wandering the beach, wandering the highway near where the crash happened. And because she was concerned for her son. At that point, her son was a grown man. He was fine. Right. But she didn't know that she was frozen in that moment. And very intense. But I didn't realize that you wait for an inner knowing moment before you'll send somebody into the light.
Yeah. I do that mostly because what happened for me, Oceana, is there's things that I can do that we don't want to talk about simply because too intense. It just means that there's skills and abilities, and because of that, it's like I have to have the knowing that I got the go ahead to do something. Like you don't want to be taking something out if there's a reason why it needs to be there, or you don't want to annihilate anything if in fact that's not God's plan, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, I learned a long time ago that I don't just go around and I see something and go, oh, that needs to be out of here and, do that. I learned way back that no. We have a much greater consciousness and much greater awareness that has, things that are meant to be or not meant, whatever. And if I'm supposed to do something, I will know it. If I'm not, I'll leave it. I don't care what it is, Oceana. Doesn't matter.
So everything has its place in the full scheme of things.
Yes, it does.
This is garbage. I'm going to get rid of this.
I mean, we may not like it. We may be thinking, we need that out of here, okay, or whatever. And I check and I get a no, and I'm like, really? All right, leave it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to listen to that. That is great. And it's good advice for everybody, and any energy work in particular. Yeah. Now, what about ETs? You've had, your sister had big connections to ETs. Have you?
Huge. I actually want to bring her, I want to do a program with her because
definitely.
You guys, this is back when we were dealing with the things. Okay. This is when it all began. That's when the aliens started coming down. The ship started coming down and we saw them. We were talking about this at Christmas because I was with my sister. We hadn't hung out for many years, and her husband. And we were talking about what happened at that time, because we would be sitting outside. We'd go, her husband was a logger, so they'd camp out for the summer up in Desolation. They're cutting trees, felling trees. So we would hang out there and you'd watch, I'm not telling you, you'd see the ships. They'd be like here, then boom, boom, other one, boom, 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 boom. No, you know what I mean? Like, and then gone. And so one time we were at the house and I saw a ship coming down for real, like clear as friggin' day, coming down. It's probably a mile away or whatever. I'm going, Blythe, let's go. She's like, no. But what happened was they started communicating with her telepathically. And what happened is every day they were talking to her, giving her information, giving her teachings. Okay. So my sister has the awarenesses that I have. She got it from the aliens. I got it from my inner work, working with people, tracking energy, looking information. So I learned it and pulled it in through direct experience. You know, I had to do it the hard way, where she got all this info dropped in, you know, and it's crazy because I'll be talking about something and she'll say it in a little bit of a different way, but it's all the same. You know what I mean? Like something that had whatever consciousness. She was talking about humanity and what they taught her about humanity, what they taught her about the belief system. So, well, you know, she used to go, during that time, remember, we lived in the country. So there's a lot of old places. If you start exploring abandoned places, and there was this abandoned orchard, the trees were all dead. And they told her, so she went up to one of the trees and started putting her hands on it and communicating with the tree. And it let her know that if she would come back, if she would keep coming, that they would grow fruit. She said she would. So she kept coming and the tree grew fruit.
Wow.
On Scariest, okay? I mean, it's just crazy. There's so many experiences that we both had, same, only different. And so the aliens, I mean, with all the teachings, her husband, I mean, he saw the ships, and they stopped coming because where they used to live was out in the country. There was open space, okay? So you had meadows and you could have trees, but when they moved up to Pollock Pines, that's heavily treed, meaning, you know, giant, you go in and you can't see because there's so many trees. Well, once they did that, they came one time and my brother-in-law's outside and he goes, "Hey, Lynn, your friends are here." So she goes outside and they let her know, we won't be coming back because we can't come into this area. And they let her know too that it was time for her to do her life, and that there would come a day when she would bring forth all the teachings that they gave her. My feeling is that that's partly my job, is to bring her on and let her share her experiences and what she learned and what she knew.
That's what I'm hearing. Share it now. Yeah.
It's now's the time, because now's the time we really need this info, because the collapse that's happening, the shifts and changes that are actually taking place. So now it's the perfect time. So I did talk to her not too long ago, last week or so, and told her, okay, Blythe, we need to do this, whether we are together or we do it on Zoom. You know, it's time to bring this forth. So I'll be connecting with her over Christmas. We'll probably start doing something like in January, somewhere in there, but I think it's time to bring her what she knows forth.
Wonderful. Absolutely brilliant. I would love that to bits. That's one of those videos that should get 1 million views at least.
Yeah.
Just want to acknowledge everybody who's on. Hi, Byron. And Cynthia's here. And Ania. Hello, Susan. Mayra. Or Myra. Susan Worthington. Okay. Liz. Wonderful. Irene. Okay, so Irene, when you're saying what do these beings look like, do you mean discarnates? And Byron's asking if we had any visits from famous discarnates. That's interesting.
No one famous, but I've definitely had lots of different experiences.
Now, do you actually see them, Bonnie? If they're ghosts, not discarnates, they're sitting in somebody's energies, but if they're wandering by, do you actually
I mean, I see. Seriously, okay, you guys. I live just a couple miles from the monument, from the museum, and everywhere. If you haven't been here, you can't know. But there's miles and miles, square miles of, like, they put these monuments and different things out where different battles were, different brigadiers, whatever you call them. And so it's all over, and huge monuments, and just miles and miles of devastation where people were killed, in the war. So, check this out. Oh, this was cool. My cousin came to visit with her mom, my aunt, in April, not last year, and I took him on over. So I'll back up. But before, I had been visiting out there, and my niece was saying, or my cousin was saying something. She said, I feel drawn. There's something about Tennessee. So when she got here, we go to the monuments, we start to drive, and she's like almost breaking down. Okay. Like she's almost hysterically breaking down. And she says, I hear voices. I hear people, they want help. So I started tuning in, come to find out, they knew her. She was one of the generals, or one of those peoples that lead your people. You know what I'm saying? And so we went to another area. We kept hearing stuff, and we went to one area where it really happened. So I said, oh, just go with it. Let's see what happens. So she closed her eyes. She went in, she went back, and she went to her people. They were so excited to see her. Because he was killed. Okay. But here he is alive. Okay.
Yes.
So, but these are all spirits that were still stuck here. So she was shot in the belly and died. Okay. She's feeling it all. She's feeling it. It's all happening as though it's happening right then. She's crying. And, finally I just walked her through stuff. And then we started releasing all these dead people that were still here, and then did some clearing, helping her so that her body could calm down. But it was so visceral. It was as though it was really happening in that moment, all of that. So, there's still lots of spirits here that didn't get released, that haven't gone up into the light. So I've not been given the go ahead. I've not been asked on any level to clear it. So there's a reason for it, and I'll leave it unless I get that kind of go ahead. Different reasons. I mean, she would have never had that experience. Okay. If she would have never known who she was. And then, she was from Tennessee. She was one of the generals, or whoever you call them back then, that was from Tennessee. So that was her connection. That's why she felt this connection to Tennessee.
So is it possible for, all times are now, really, we think of past, present, future, but is it possible some aspect of her soul called her back to that place to say, look, settle this trauma?
Yeah. Yes. So we released a lot of soldiers, a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty intense, pretty ugly, pretty scary for these people. Yeah.
That is very intense. I'm so glad you were there to help. Now, was this woman at all, was she an energy worker? I missed that part. Was she very?
No, she was she just not, she doesn't do anything. Nothing. Nothing. Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me too. There was when I was in Mexico, when friends of mine moved to Mexico, we were there before her husband got there, and we were sleeping in the same bed, because the other bed, we didn't have the air mattress yet for me, and we were sleeping in the bed. And at night, it was the nighttime, and I'm having a hard time sleeping. But I'd wake up, and I felt like her legs were on me. I'm thinking, why she got her legs laid over me, And then someone was sitting down on the bed. Literally, I could feel it. Someone sitting down on the bed. And then I'm hearing all these noises, and apparently it was like this wolf creature thing coming out. So the next morning, I started talking to her, talking about, you felt like you had your legs on. She goes, well, I thought you had your legs on me. So there was someone between us with their legs on us. Okay. So we both had that. And she also she saw the wolf and what was happening. So I actually did change this, because they lived on the road where the Day of the Dead parade goes through. It's been doing it for 300 years. Okay. So the energy was coming right through her wall, in through her room. Okay. So what I did was I diverted it over. So the portals, or the openings, were no longer in her house, because she was right on the road, right on it. And so all I did was just like shift it a little bit, and then let that, so that they no longer were coming through the house. And it totally changed the entire energy. Everything changed. No more hauntings. No more weird stuff happening.
Very good. Wonderful. So there are pathways, just like there are, what did they call them? Fairy paths, or I forget the actual term, but it's like a place where the fairies always wander through, and they don't want you putting up a structure there. God forbid, fairy hawthorn tree. You don't find that in Ireland. People are smart enough not to cut down the fairy hawthorn tree.
Right.
You have to respect them. But that's great that you were able to divert the traffic.
Yeah, that was pretty darn cool. Definitely.
Oh, how amazing. Thean Ahel is saying, love the outfits. He's going to go put on some horns. Red gold. Okay. That's nice. Liz is asking, Bonnie, did your son ever want to channel? That's interesting. Do they have your gifts, your kids?
They do, and I don't know why, but they don't want to go down that road. I think I don't know really why, but I mean, my son was a part of well, actually, both my kids were a part of the Renaissance Center that I had. Nathan lived there. But he just, I think my sense is too, is because what happened to him as a kid, that was really intense. That was really scary stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for him, I don't think wants to open those doors, you know?
Yeah.
For me, I didn't know the difference. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know not to open those doors. So we opened them. Yeah.
I've noticed sometimes a spirit or ETs will come in just as a light. Have you seen just lights come in? Happened to a friend of mine in Sedona. She was staying with me. She was in my room, bedroom, and I was sleeping out in the living room. And the door opened, and we both heard it. We both woke up. The bedroom door opened. And this happened to me all the time in Sedona. I would firmly shut the door before I went to sleep. Woke up, it's wide open. Very annoying.
Yeah.
And then she saw this little light come in like that, and she said, "Who are you, or what do you want?" And they said, "Oh, we're just passing through." Out the window, which was shut, but they're not going to be stopped by a closed window. And I was like, "What the bleep?" It's just, Sedona's a very strange place.
Yeah. I remember one time I was living in close to my mother at one point, and she was over and we were sitting by the table, and I was talking about a dog. His name was Chester. So I said, Chester, and all of a sudden the door would open. I go close the door, and we were talking. I say, Chester again, the door would open. So I started tuning in, because at that point I was plugged in. This is in the late 80s, and I was teaching classes. But anyway, it was somebody that he heard his name. His name was Chester. He kept hearing his name, so he kept coming in, and we wouldn't talk to him. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many little story like that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how much it happens, but it's everywhere.
That's interesting. They named the dog Chester. Maybe intuitively they picked up on that name because that presence was there, if they were living there when they got the dog. That's very, very interesting. Wow.
Yeah. It was a trip. And then you can feel presences, you know what I mean? Like I remember we'd go exploring and finding abandoned places, or even houses that were not abandoned, but you could go in, you could feel the moment you walk in, you can feel stuff,
Yeah.
You can feel the intensities, you can feel whatever those emotions are by the peoples that traumas happen to, you can feel it. And yes, you can feel traumas, you can feel like atrocities, I mean, all kinds of stuff. And spirit, I mean, they're just everywhere. And I used to tune in to help release them, because a lot of people don't know they died. You know what I mean? They're stuck in this and they don't understand. They're confused, and they can just be wandering the earth planes for indefinite periods of time, So again, if I get a knowing, I do it. Like I remember one time I was traveling. I used to travel a lot back in the day, but I was at a hotel, and I could hear this guy out there. And he's yelling he's on his own. He's walking, he's yelling. He has somebody's cell phone throat, something. And I see this demon on him, for real, like on his back, This is why he's like acting out, is because he got this friggin' demon on him. I had the knowing, take it out. So I did. The guy has no clue what happened. He never saw me, but I saw it. I cast my thing, did my thing, ripped that thing off, cleared it out, and what about my day, but totally changed his world.
Now, I guess it would, when you remove something like that, you send it into the light. Is that right? Do you
usually, yeah.
Is it the light of the higher realms? Is it a sort of transmuting?
No, it is the light where everything goes, where what happens when you go into the light, that light is like that's why for me, my job is to get things into the light. After that, it's not my business, because I know the light takes care of it. Okay. So the light literally will take that demon. It might just take it up and dissolve it, or it might neutralize it, or it might show it different things, or it might let it exist or not. I don't know. Not my business. You know what I mean? But real bad stuff like the demons and like all the evil frequencies, when I send it up into the light, usually it's just going to dissipate and go back into the oneness. You know what I mean? Like there will be no awareness of itself it will only just be creator consciousness.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit.
Okay, great. All right. Michelle has an interesting question. She's saying, how do these demonic entities come into being? Did we create the humans, create them through dark deeds and thoughts thousands or millions of years ago? Or did they come in from other universes, other planets?
Yeah, well, like for example, I think Oceana, remember I was in New Mexico. I went and saw you up in New Mexico.
Yeah, sure. That was great.
Yeah. So remember I told you there were White Walkers. Okay, White Walkers are not on this planet. They don't belong here. They're not in this dimension, but they were coming up through that portal thing. So they're in other time and space. Like when you start really traversing the universes and galaxies and different time and space, you're going to find a lot of really bizarre things that we don't have here. Okay. And they exist. So things like, some things are created and live in other time space dimensions. Things seep through. Like I remember when I first saw this frequency of evil coming through our dimension, I remember that vividly, clearly. It doesn't belong here, but it pierced the veils. It pierced through and came through. Okay, same thing happens on the astral planes. Heartlessness creates a negativity. It creates cruelty and heartlessness. If you keep going with that to where you start doing atrocities and you become so disconnected from self, you start going into what I call like a heartless space where there's no light. You can't see the light. I mean, there's always going to be a little speck, but a person loses its connection completely with any sense of lightness, of any sense of love or connection or caring or any of that. All there is a heartlessness where you have no feelings. You have no, like people that torture people that, like serial killers. There's no heart. You know what I'm saying? There's no frequency of connection in there. So when we create darkness, we create evil, we create that kind of thing through our own experiences of heartlessness. And when you torture a kid enough, it's going to turn dark. It can turn dark. It doesn't mean it's going to become demonic, but demons do not incarnate into human form. Yes, they can come into your body, but they are not taking on a form of their own. Okay, they're on another dimension, but those two don't belong in our dimensions. And belief systems also open things up, allow for things to come in. Like, for example, our world, many people believe in things like heaven and hell, the devil, Satan, and that kind of thing. But it's like it can get, the really intense demonic energies, then we start getting poltergeists and we start getting, things places where you feel all this intense energy, like really cold, freezing cold, that type of stuff. So, I mean, these things don't really belong here, but they've pierced through different time, way the heck back, conjuring and all kinds of stuff. Like I'm getting downloaded with all kinds of images of past, of what people have done, some of them unknowingly, and others intentionally trying to call in so they have power. So, so those things are existing and they get created, but a lot of things were existing in other time space, like the White Walkers. When we went down, I had David with me, we're on the phone, and we were going down into that thing. It was so deep when we finally hit bottom. But one of the wormholes that these guys were in was where it took us right to their time-space dimension. And that's where they exist. And so we cut that off, closed it, collapsed it, and then collapsed that whole portal, the whole wormhole thing, collapsed it. There were hundreds of wormholes going to other time space that was in that opening in the ground. And there were hundreds of helpers assisting me fighting these things, and we've closed it off, sealed it, so it totally changed the frequency there. But my point is things come through that are coming through different gateways, portals. And also think about this, like they talk about time travel, they talk about how you can bend, there's a bending, and you can move through those bends and end up somewhere else. So that's those kinds of things are happening. Things are coming through that don't belong here, that weren't originally from here.
Yeah. Well, I think that in a sense, the higher realms is eternal. I don't know if the lower realms, if the hell realms have always existed, but we're a free will universe, or a free will planet at least. So I think they have a heyday, the dark realms on this planet, because we're free will, and because so many people come in and they're so confused. We're in this low dimensional life, third dimension, which I'm so done with it. I'm working on clearing everything I can in this life, because I don't want to come back to 3D. And
Right.
they come in and they just have a heyday. They just feed off of all these lower vibrations that we experience.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. I mean, think about it. Look at our world. Look what's happening in our world right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you shift your guys, I swear to God, if you shift your awareness, remember I don't know if you remember. Remember I talked about blood eaters? Have I talked about blood eaters? Yeah. So like if you look at all these things are happening in different parts of the world, like people, the killings, the blood, where there's blood.
Yeah.
I mean, right, I can see it right now. Clear. Oh, whoa. Oh, not okay, fucker. Sorry, but fucker. I just saw, like, I'm looking, and it's same friggin' thing as when I was in Cusco in Ecuador. I was in a monastery and I was down in the catacombs, and these demons were tracking me. But anyway, they're looking at me doing the same thing. Like, what are you going to do about it? What they do is they're after the blood, the high frequency of the blood. So they come when there's violence, when there's intense, traumas, terrors, horrors, crisis, that type of thing. And I can see them clearly. It's like they're looking right at me. It's like, really, So this is when I would either get a go ahead or a no. What I'm saying, like I could be, okay, you want me to can I take these guys out? No. So I leave it.
Oh, wow.
There's a reason. I don't know why. Not my business. Leave it.
There's some story we don't know, some scheme.
There's something we don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's got to finish it themselves rather than
something.
So, yeah. I don't know if you want to take one more question, Bonnie. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah, we can do one more.
Hello to Icelandic Angel, Ria, Robin, Ania, and Marcella is asking, can we get demons or other dark stuff by watching negative news or horror movies, terror or horror movies, which is a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Come through. Is that a portal, in other words?
Yeah. Normally, like if you're watching a scary movie, you're not really opening any portals, okay? But if you were opening portals and you have that level of terror, you could definitely be pulling in evil frequency. Like there's a frequency of evil that you could be pulling in. And there's also like really like demonic energies, different kinds of, there's many different creature looking things that will come in on that fear frequency, you know what I mean? But normally if you're just watching a movie and it's terrifying, you might scream or whatever, but you're not opening portals, okay? So you're pretty okay, watching stuff if that's what you want to do. And the way the openings, whoa, hang on. Well, what really you guys, here's what happens. Like, for example, I think I talked about Sierra Hot Springs in California when I went and closed and sealed the blackness, okay? It was the Native American guy. He was a hunter, come back, village killed by a white man. He's cursed the land, and in that hatred and cursing, he literally opened up the energy, and the earth has different portals, different wormholes of darkness and light, okay, different energy frequencies. Well, he opened up I saw it. It was like this wormhole thing, and he opened it up, and from that moment forth, all darkness was happening there. This is where the mafia was, prostitution, murder, all kinds of really intense things, and the energy was really intense. That's why people were trying to clear it. So when I went with another friend, we cleared it. We cleared it. I didn't cut it down. What I did is I plugged that into a light frequency. Now energy of light is coming through rather than this blackness coming through. But all kinds of stuff was happening in that process. But basically, that's one way people open stuff. Like, for example, if you look at the countries in the Middle East, all these, their belief systems, you know what I mean? Like the hatred that's in these people, it's in the earth. It's, all this blackness, it's just black all over. And so they've opened up all this blackness, all this evil shit, and all this dark negative energies coming up into the bodies, and it keeps these energies going and alive. It's feeding off of their negativity. It's very potent, very powerful. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it just depends, people do this. This is mostly due to humans, their own belief systems, their hatreds, their greeds, whatever it is that they're holding on to. It's like that's what opens up all this dark stuff, all this negativity. So, I mean, all the more reason to do your inner work. You know what I'm saying? Stop this hatred and greed and wanting to hurt people. And, it's just like, we're doing it. We are doing it. So wake up.
It's kind of a way, if you're holding a lot of hatred, rage in the sense of desire to be destructive, and yes, the greed, that's a kind of a way to then align your own vibration with something that's low, and it will draw to you, just like, say, you'll find friends, they're all musicians, they all play music. If you like somebody, you're going to naturally draw to them. You've pointed that out. You have a group of 400 people, 2 addicts. Those 2 addicts will find each other.
They will find each other. It's true. It is so true. It's an energy thing, you guys. Everything's energy. So whatever you're holding, even though you may not be consciously aware of it, but whatever you're holding, that's what you're going to draw to you, on some level.
So just as a closing comment, if people walk into a place and they feel suddenly cold or constricted, or feel to be under attack, feel like they're being watched, or if they're dealing with that in their home, what would you suggest? I mean, obviously they could book a session with you or an accelerator, but in that moment, what would you suggest to help?
Well, I would, if they're listening, here's the thing, if they hear us, then they're at that level where they can understand. But remember, nothing can hurt the light. Okay. So everyone has that light within. Everyone. I want to talk to Byron. Byron, sweetie, I want you to start shining your light, because you can. All right. What I mean by that is take your awareness. Everyone can do this. Take your awareness, drop inside you. If you are alive, you have the light. You can't exist without it, because everything of sentient beings are of the light. There's nothing but that. So take your awareness into your light. I mean, if I were walking into a room and I felt something attacking, I can go immediately into blinding bright light. Okay. So anyone can do that with practice, meaning, come into your light, expand it. So expanding your light is one thing. You're not going to put shields up. You're not going to put, like that used to crack me up. People say, oh, we're going to use smudge, or we're going to, I'll just put a energy field up around me and I'll protect myself. It doesn't work. Okay. What works is shine your light. Seriously, shine your light. Okay. Darkness can attach to it. Entities can attach to it. You can't attach to the light. You can't touch it. Okay. It's light. So it's all the dark stuff, the emotions that they attach to and connect to. So, the easiest, most effective thing is to stand in your own light, shine your own light. And I don't care if you're looking at poltergeist, it doesn't matter. Don't be afraid, because it's energy, it's consciousness. It wants you to be afraid. It feeds on that power, and it gets more potent and powerful when it's feeding off of your fear. So when you're not afraid, then you can deal with it. You can find where's the source of this? Where's this coming from? And begin to shut it down, find the ways to shut it down. But yeah, shine your light. Just, we all have it. We are all that. We are the light. Oh, and that remember you were saying, Oceana, about, when you're under attack or whatever, like I used to be under attack a lot from demons, clearly they were, of course, but they would get me when I was trying to come awake. I'm sure everyone's had that. They might call it sleep paralysis. No, what's happening is they're trying to get you as you're coming back, and they would attack me. And this was back when I was having it really happen a lot intensely. It started happening in like 1977. And I struggled with this until 2001. Okay. These friggin' things were all, I'd call and I'd be saying, I'd be going, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then they would leave. The last time, and that's never been back. What happened is freaking demons, man, red eyes coming at me. And this time I turned around and faced it, right? Looked right at it and let it know we're done here. Yeah. And I freaking chased it. Never have they attacked me again, ever.
Fantastic. Because you showed you were not afraid and that you knew your own power. You were very fully.
Yep.
Absolutely. I just want to say quickly to Byron, no, you're not going to lose your songwriting abilities as you do healing and clearing. That comes from yourself, honey, that you can't throw that away. Nobody can, unless you do it very, very intentionally. And why would you do that? So please, no, you're all right. You're all right. It might move to a higher level. As your vibration goes up, your songwriting abilities might change a bit, but yeah, more light coming through those songs. Okay.
Oh yeah. You bet.
So thank you so much, Bonnie. And yes, absolutely. Only trying to know. We're all trying to know. Huge blessings to everyone. And I just want to quickly say, spiritual accelerators are going to be, or Bonnie, going to be doing group energy clearings Friday, November 8th, feeling controlled and manipulated. Wednesday, November 13th, the Noble Savior. That's a big one. That accelerators are doing that one. And Friday, November 22nd, a clearing on feeling out of control. So if you go to spiritualacceleration.com, and I guess they're all listed on the members site, I think.
Yeah. Well, anywhere, if you go to the website, and if you go to the top bar, there's live clearings. So that what we're offering, and then you go into the live clearings, and it'll be there. So,
fantastic. So
cool.
Absolutely, you're welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Huge blessings. Blessings of Samhain. It's a Celtic Halloween celebration. You should be in Ireland for Halloween. It's so cool. And huge thanks, Bonnie, and much love.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's been fun. Thank you, Oceana.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
Much love.